Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Struggling Hunters, the hunting podcast that could be for you. Today, it's Eric Stewart here and Joe Imes on the other side. We are here today, the weekend after Memorial Day weekend. For me, I didn't do a whole lot this weekend, just kind of stuck around the house. I got some good news and some bad news. The good news is my turkey hunt. I get a hunt one more weekend. The bad news is I didn't go hunting this weekend. Part of that is I just figured that there would be so many people out there in the woods. I just didn't want to deal with it. And I was kind of excited to have a 3-day weekend and kind of hang out with the family. I've been going out turkey hunting every weekend, just for a few hours here and there, but just been pretty steady on top of that. Been getting skunked every time. So yeah, I was a little kind of ready for a small break. With that said though, I think I'm going to try to get out at least once for the last time this coming weekend. By the time this podcast comes out, it'll probably be the week after, but we can both look back and have a memory of the Memorial Day, if you will. But with that said, that's pretty much how my weekend went. Did some honeydews around the house. I don't know, kind of just a laid back weekend. Nothing too exciting. I thought about trying to create some excitement to talk about for the podcast, but at the end of the day, me and my son, we just sat back and played video games, and that was about it.
Well, seems like some pretty good father-son bonding time there, though. Like sitting down playing with the old video games.
Yeah. No, oh man, he's getting into it. He's getting to that point where, you're like, hey, you want to play some video games? And I've been kind of a video game guy my whole life. So, I'm one that gets it. I'm like, yeah, let's play some video games. But a couple hours, give or take or whatever. And then I'm like, all right, let's go do something else. But he definitely gets that bug where he's like, he'd play video games all day, every day if he could. So, yeah, kind of trying to figure that out, trying to make sure he doesn't play video games too much. But he definitely loves it, and it's fun. It's fun to play with him and go back and forth, and we talk smack to each other and stuff. So we're having a good time anyway. So
That's good.
Yeah. But so that was pretty much my weekend though. Joe, how was your weekend?
It was a good weekend. Wasn't quite long enough. I wish I had another, 2 weeks tacked on to my 3 days. But if I got 3 days, I got 3 days. It was kind of busy, but laid back at the same time. One morning and one day out turkey hunting, and then went for a drive on Sunday. We went around Mount Nebo down in Payson. Here, it's a kind of a little scenic drive. Me and my wife, we went to school or college at Snow College down in Ephraim.
Gotcha.
We got up and on Sunday, we left the house like 10:30 or 11, and just went for a little drive up. Got off on Payson. Payson went up Mount Nebo, a little loop there, and it was a little scenic little drive. Got down to 44 or 42 degrees. I think we left at like it was 70 some degrees, so it was cooled off a little bit, but it was a fun drive. We went down to Ephraim. Like I said, that's where Snow College. That's where me and Jen met. So we did a little bit of reminiscing and seeing what was changed. And Sunday was a good day. And then I had to back up a day to Saturday. I got up Saturday and went Saturday. So Saturday, we got up early. I think I left the house at 4:30 and started driving up in the dark. And do you know how so I got going up and like right when the lights coming up, starting to hit everything, right in the twilight of the hours, like there's, I don't know, it kind of casts a different shadow. Like there's just like things are kind of light and kind of dark at the same time.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
I got looking. I'm like, oh, okay, there's some shiny things, but that's just the way the light is this time of the day. And start going up a little further, and it's foggy too. Like I can't see very far in front of the truck, and so I can't really see what's going on around me. But I can, except for my visibility was probably like 30 feet or so in front of the truck as I'm driving up. And then all of a sudden, like I'm going around corners and the back end's kind of sliding out from underneath me. And it's like, what the heck? I was thinking my truck's broken, you know, but it turned out to be snow.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. So I looked out the window at my house. I was like, oh, it's raining a little bit. It's like, it'll be, you know, a little bit of rain won't kill me. I'll go up anyways. And as I got going up, I think it turned into like 2.5, 3 inches of snow.
Wow.
Yeah. So I went down, made a little stand, and I guess I should back up and say one of the nights, I think it was Thursday, I went up and did some calling, and I think I'm not hunting too far away from people. Like I could hear dirt bikes and razors going up and down the road, but so doing my calling, and I think I texted you and I was like, dude, I got a turkey to gobble back to me.
Yeah.
So I went back up to that kind of that same area Saturday morning. Did some, like I said, there was snow. I had to be back home in about 9 in the morning anyway, so I didn't really have that long to hunt if I was going to stay up there. I didn't hear any goggles, any gobbles. but yeah, so I came back down, had to help someone with something, clean out a garage, and then hauled a brand new fridge for my brother-in-law. And so that was my Saturday. And then Sunday went for that drive. And then Monday morning, I got up even earlier, went up to the same spot where, you know, where I heard the gobbles, and started calling, and the wind was blowing, so I couldn't hear too good. So I thought I heard one faint gobble. So I just kind of, you know, spent the day, did a big different stands, I guess, you know, different spots, and just tried calling and had enough of it and came back down. But I didn't hear any. Well, I think I said one gobble was all, but I didn't see any sign or nothing. But the other thing too was kind of interesting was I think I smelled some elk.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure, but one of the stands I sat down and the wind was blowing and I could smell it. And part of me was like, oh, I had the thought, go follow the wind and try to come get it, or try to find where that smell's coming from.
Yeah.
I was like, no, you're turkey hunting. You gotta hunt turkeys. You're not here to chase elk.
Yeah.
But not that. I mean, I don't think they would be there during the elk hunt, but it would have been cool to see them.
Yeah, that's interesting. I wonder if you did smell them.
I mean, the smell went away, so I assume, you know, I probably did, but it's hard to say. So but anyways, that was more or less, that was my weekend. We did a couple little honey-do lists, but so I got some hunting time in. It was fun. It was, I know it sounds funny, but or not funny, but I'm not one to get up early in the morning. Like it's hard, but when I get myself out of bed and go up hunting and setting up there in the morning, you know, waiting for the sun to come up, and it's just one of those places is like, I get that zen or whatever you want to call it. It's like, yeah, man, this is where I'm supposed to be, you know, like,
yeah,
life feels good right now.
Yeah, for sure. I feel the same way every time I get out there early in the morning and just the sun comes up, like you said, that fresh air. It's a weird little zen feeling for sure. I know what you're talking about. The hard thing is I know I was gonna actually ask you this. So you kind of work more in like a factory type setting, right?
Right.
So when you make the decision to get out to the woods, are you pretty excited?
Yeah.
Like for the weekend?
Yeah.
Yeah. So my job, like I'm always outside, right? And it kind of irritates me because there's some weekends like this weekend, I just had no desire to really go out to the woods. It's not like that every weekend, but some weekends it is. Like I'm like, I've been out in the woods every day for all week, you know, like I'm working, So sometimes it's just nice to like get a break from all of that. And but yeah, I think I do fight that sometimes though, is just the fact that, if I had more of an office job, I think I'd be really, really itching to get out to the woods more. But sometimes I have to kind of talk myself into it because I've already, for the most part, been out in the woods. Even though I'm
Oh,
working, I've already been out in the woods all week, to a sense.
right.
So it's kind of, I don't know, because I daydream about that. I'm like, oh, if I worked in an office all week, I'd probably be every weekend I'd be out in the woods. I don't know if that's true or not, but I tell myself that it is, that I'd probably be out in the woods every weekend if I worked in an office all week. I don't know if it's true or not, but I tell myself that. So I kind of wondered that for you, like if by the time the weekend comes, if you're itching to get out to the woods and
Yeah, it's one of those things too. Like like no one's really going to be bothering me out there. Like well, you won't be. I'm just doing my own thing and got no one asking what I'm doing or what's happening and where's things at. Just more something. Like sometimes I have service, sometimes I don't, so I don't have to worry about phone calls or anything.
yeah. Speaking of that is something very important. I love getting out where I don't have service for that reason is because like nobody can bother me. There's no pressures. All the pressures are gone. I'm just out in the woods enjoying myself, just doing me, just doing what I want to do, and you come back to town and boss is calling you or coworkers calling you, and you're like, here it goes. So it's nice to get away from all that for sure. For sure. So I definitely like to get away from that. But yeah, it is hard to talk myself, like whenever it's nice like this, whenever it's nice and it's easier for me to get out in the woods. But like whenever it's cold or whatnot, especially, I'm like, I've already been in the cold all week. I don't want to go out in the cold anymore. Somebody invites me along ice fishing or something. I'm like, nah, I've been cold all week. I don't feel like being cold anymore. So, which is that's something that I kind of want to do a little bit is some ice fishing. Speaking of ice fishing, but yeah, I really haven't done any of that to
I
get.
haven't either. I've fished in some cold water, but never done any ice fishing. I think that would be kind of fun. Kind of interesting too. Oh, this looks like a good spot. We'll drill a hole and drop a line.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that for sure. But speaking of this weekend and camping and Memorial Day weekend, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, it's one of those. I'll start off by saying, that was a thought that was on my mind when I was out there in the woods. Is or hunting, being that it is a Memorial Day weekend, and what you know, to me, what that is the opportunity that I have to be able to go out and go hunting, to carry a rifle or a shotgun with me on this particular hunt, and to go out when I wanted to, the freedom to go out, and as I was thinking of that, and it came down to the lives that have been lost to the wars and such that have given me that freedom. Yeah, it's kind of a sobering thought of when you're out there to realize that people have died to give us that freedom, and that being Memorial Day weekend, remembering those that have fallen due to providing us the what we're able to do, and I guess one of the questions that, or not questions, say questions, but one of the things was that got me thinking about that was how many people have lost their lives, how many lives were taken in all the wars that have happened. And so anyways, so with that, like I got to look that up, and I guess hopefully you can believe Google. But what I found is there was 1,354,664 people plus. I'm sure that number isn't exact, but casualties of war have died in war, and I'm thankful for that. And you know and even those that are serving today, even that have served, it's, I guess, a little bit more on Joe. Is I like to me and Jen like to go to rodeos, and one of the things that happens at rodeos is they do the national anthem and display the flag. And I always get, sometimes they'll have service members stand up, and everyone pays respect to them, clapping them, showing appreciation. And it's, I always get chills during that, because it's because of them that we have these freedoms. And some people didn't get to come home and some did, and I'm thankful that we get to live in America that where we have those freedoms.
That was really well said, man. Really hard to follow that. I kind of handed that off to you because I know that when we talked earlier, that was definitely something that was on your mind. So I kind of handed it off to you you could do it well. And yeah, that was really well said. So that's one thing. I mean, being patriotic and just the thought of all the people that have lost their lives, so me and you could be here today to be on a Zoom call and making a podcast. It's very humbling, and it really makes me feel grateful for all those that have served and paid the ultimate sacrifice for our freedoms. And for that, for the people that are serving now, and to the people that have given their life to this country, thank you for you guys's what you guys have given to this country, and to me and Joe and our families, for us to be free. And I feel like today sometimes I'm having a hard time saying it because I'm not trying to be political, but I feel like today, like, people are losing sight of that more and more. And it's kind of sad, but.
And on that note, so, I mean, I don't, like with you, not trying to be political, but, so my grandpa was he was a frogman. He was in the Navy. And so if you look up frogman, what they were they were the first Navy SEALs. Before the Navy SEALs were formed, they came from these frogmen. And my grandpa was in the first group. They took the group in World War II and divided it into two, and he was in group 2. But he was a frogman. He was an underwater demolition guy. So they'd go, check the beaches and stuff for landmines, and if there's any landmines in the underwater as they were to approach and stuff. And on that note of you talking about our freedom, and people like kind of forgetting that, it was one time I was talking to my grandpa about his service a little bit, and I can't remember exactly what he said, but the gist of what he was saying, kind of stuck with me over these years. And that is that people will forget what the cost we paid to have our freedom.
Yeah.
Which is kind of true. World War II happened close to 70 years ago. That was way before our time, and a lot of people coming up and anyways, but it's easy to forget, and hopefully we never do. But it's, I'm thankful for that service, and for the opportunity that we have right now, like you said, for us being on this Zoom call, doing a podcast, for doing what we want to do.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I don't know about emotional or whatnot, but Matt, like you were kind of saying about the rodeo, and I mean, it's caught me off guard where I'm like, my eyes itching a little bit or something. That wind is pretty bad. And because I mean, you feel it, you feel the energy, and you feel the, you just feel that. And yeah, I understand what you're saying. And I'm just thankful, I'm thankful that in this great country, like, I regret not going to the military, but I'm also thankful that I had that choice too.
True.
I look back and regret that I didn't go into the military, but like I said, I'm just thankful that I have that choice.
No, 100%. That's the way I feel too. Like when the national anthem's being played, and and you watch an Old Glory fly, and and you think of what it's taken for that to be happening and I kind of feel kind of guilty, and like, well, I didn't serve, and I'm partaking of these freedoms, and these freedoms full heartedly, like without whatever I want to do, I get that I want to work towards, I can do.
Yeah.
And there's it's so I get to feel a little guilty, and like, man, I should go sign up today.
Yeah.
But like you said, it's your freedom, that's your choice, that's your agency. You get to make that decision right now, which is we're lucky to be able to do.
Exactly right. And yeah, so I think for me and Joe both, we just, thank you everybody out there that's serving, thank you for your service, and for all those that did serve. And, like we said earlier, just the people that made the ultimate sacrifice. That thank all you guys, for everything that you've contributed. Speaking of freedoms, let's move on to the next segment and talk about a guy that's going on his first hunt. I want to kind of paint the picture here for a second, because I feel like there's a lot of different hunts that you would need different things for. So I'll set the scenario as far as this is first deer hunt in October. What would that guy need to bring with him on his first deer hunt?
So the first thing I think you're going to want to do, so we're talking about what you're taking out in the field, right? Like, we're not talking about prep or nothing. We're just going into what if a guy's going to get up in the morning, what he's going to have in his pack, right?
Yes.
Okay. So we'll take it on to, you're going to be gone for the day, right? Like, you're not coming back to camp. You're just going to try to be gone, I guess, for the day.
Yeah.
But so first thing I'm going to have is a backpack of some sorts, and that pack, it's not going to be too overly big. It's going to be a decent size. And in that pack, I'm going to have first two things. Well, I'm probably going to be on the more of the survival side. I want to make sure that I can start a fire if needed. I want to make sure that, I'm going to have a knife and then a sharpening stone. And then some, paracord, some type of a rope, 50 to 100 feet. Probably the first thing I should have said was water. Some type of water carrying, whether it's bladder bag or a bottle of water. Should probably make sure and say toilet paper, because it's not very fun when you have to cut up your game bag or cut sleeves off your shirt or take your socks off.
That's probably the most important thing, that is probably the most likely that people will forget about. If there's one thing in their pack that they'll forget about, is that. And it's probably the most important thing to have in your pack.
Right.
We kind of experienced that. We had to find I had some, whenever we went camping a couple weekends ago, speaking of that, I didn't have any toilet paper or nothing, but I did have, well, not nothing. I had some towels in the glove box from, one of the restaurants or whatever. I threw the extra napkins in the glove box, and I had those, but I had to spare them out. Well, there was only like 4 of them or something, so I had to kind of use them wisely, if you will.
Tear them into small pieces.
Not quite that, but I had to use the fold it and reuse method. So, but yeah, so moving on though, toilet paper is probably one of the most easiest to forget about, but most important to bring, for sure.
For sure. That probably should be, and then even maybe put inside of a Ziploc baggie, so that way it don't get wet if you if it rains or you
Yeah.
fall in a creek or something.
Yeah. 10-4 on that. That is a definite uh, safety measure, if you will, for Ziploc bag for your teepee.
Yeah. And then, so after that, some type of a basic first aid kit, bandages, maybe some medical tape or some gauze. And then, you're going to have hopefully some type of an optics, some, binoculars or something. And then, extra shells or something, in your pack as well. But then it's one of those things too that you got to kind of be careful because you can get your pack loaded up to 50 pounds probably fairly quickly before.
Yeah, it is a game. You want to bring all this stuff, but then you want to also keep your pack light. It's a funny game to play, and sometimes sometimes you get it right on, and sometimes you're a little off. I mean, I know I've had years where I'm like, okay, I packed way too much this morning, and then oh, I didn't pack enough. I wish I would have grabbed this and that, and threw it in my pack. One thing though is one thing that I carry. I don't know if you do, Joe, but one thing that I carry is, and I only started doing it like a few years ago, like 3 years ago, is some emergency blankets, just in
Oh,
case. I have a couple in my pack that I carry with me. Um,
that's something I should probably throw in as I was turkey hunting this weekend. Not that it got very cold, but like I was dressed warm enough, but I was sitting there. I was like, I could be tuck myself in right here if I had a little blanket and get a little cozy.
yeah. I don't know if those emergency blankets, because it's those little fold up ones. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I I don't know if that'd be the way to go. You could pack a throw blanket in with you, I guess. This next hunt season when we go together, I'll be sure to carry a throw blanket for you.
Thanks, Eric. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. Yeah, so I think you pretty much hit everything spot on. I mean, that everything that you said.
Well,
Um,
the one thing though that I've kind of made sure to carry the last couple of years is kind of a 24-hour or maybe a 48-hour food supply.
mm,
Uh, it's not going to be something too bulky or too big. Like one guy, I can't remember who it was, but I started throwing in like those 48-hour, what are those little energy shots? I can't remember
the
what they're
5 hour energies.
Yeah, 5-hour energies.
Yeah,
I got to where I was throwing like 2 or 3 in my pack because they have some nutrients in them, not a lot, but like you can get that caffeine in you and hopefully maybe get you thinking straight, or just something so that way don't have nothing in your body and it's lightweight and it's small.
yeah,
And I'll try to throw in some little packets of jerky or candy or granola bars, and that's strictly for emergency situations. Like I'm stuck out overnight, I'm hurt, or I'm lost, but I know I at least got a day's worth of food. I'm not going to be full, but I got a day's worth of food that's in my pack that I can survive off of.
yeah, for sure. That's where I usually carry about 5 or 6 Cliff Bars. I feel like I've ate so many Cliff Bars over the years. I'm so tired of them, but they're good though. They do the trick. They're 300 calories or whatever they are, and I mean, you eat 1 or 2 of those. I mean, it gives you the energy to keep moving a little bit. So,
Right, and it doesn't have to be kept. It doesn't have to be refrigerated or nothing. It can just be thrown in your backpack in there. I'll try to maybe eat it at the end of the deer season or the hunt season, so that way the next season I'll refresh it and put fresh stuff in.
yeah, I kind of forget to pull mine out sometimes.
Oh, I do. I do too. If I went, in fact, like the stuff I have in my turkey bag is left over from the elk hunt.
I some of that stuff I haven't seen an expiration date, so I don't know. Try at your own risk, I guess, right? Yeah. Um, yeah, actually you covered it. The only thing is whatever you're shooting with, either whether it's a bow or a rifle, which is kind of obvious, right? But I think you got pretty much everything. Well, I will say this though. So since October, maybe a couple layering items.
Yeah, true. I was gonna say that too. I think you have something there.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe an extra a base layer for your legs, or maybe you already have a base layer on. I know for me, I kind of keep my base layer on all day. Um, but maybe an extra pair of pants or a thicker pair of pants or an insulated pair of pants for whatever works for you. I mean, it kind of gets into that what you're talking about is keeping it small. Not that the hardest thing with those kind of items is it can get bulky, and then you kind of lose room in your pack because you got all these clothing items. So you kind of want to, it's like that the mid layer, I guess, is like maybe some kind of extra layer, even a pair of sweatpants if you got lost or something, you could throw on those sweatpants to help keep you warm through the night. And then obviously like a coat or a hoodie or something for the extra
Right.
layer.
And kind of like on that note, so like you know, when I was a kid, 12, 14, 16, like growing up, I had this big red jacket that was my hunting jacket. And like it was, a thick jacket, it was a warm, but like one of those things, if I was setting, I was good. If I got up and started hiking, like it was coming off, but then I had to pack it. But,
Yeah.
it was a decision I had to make,
Yeah.
that if you, want to be warm, you got to keep on you. Oh, speaking of that, one of the things too that I've kind of picked up on the last couple of years is a butt pad.
Yeah, that's right.
I know that seems kind of like cheesy or not being tough, but like man, when you're glassing for a couple hours or something in one spot, or maybe it's a rainy day or even a snowy day, you got that butt pad, you throw that down and you're sitting down on the snow or the mud and your butt's not getting wet.
Yep. I actually took that from your playbook, and I mean I kind of one upped you a little bit, and I got the heater seaters. So whenever you set on them, they're supposed to kind of produce a little bit of heat or something up through your butt, so your butt stays nice and toasty. But this last year I tried to strap it to the outside of my pack, and remember it kept flopping back and forth. So it's not the most efficient thing to carry out there, but I do like it though. It definitely works. So
Yeah, I mean, it's nice. Like it's one of those things that it's one of those things that I'm gonna have, and I'm gonna think twice about leaving it back at the truck. Like
yep.
I'd like to carry it because it makes hunting a little bit more enjoyable.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a simple foam pad, like, or kind of what people use for the bleachers at the high school football games. I mean, it's the same thing as that, and yeah, I mean, I saw, that one year that we were hunting. I guess it was only a couple years ago, but you had yours on, and I was watching you, and I was like, I was sitting on this rock, and I'm all uncomfortable, moving around, trying to get comfortable, and kind of watching you, and I'm like, man, he sure looks comfortable over there with that foam pad. So I definitely took I guess you could say that I had to one up you a little bit, but get this big old bulky thing that's probably, like I said, it's probably not the most efficient thing you could have out there, but now that I paid money for it, I'm trying to make it work for me, and I don't want to give it up. but
Right.
but we were glassing last year, and hell, I was pretty comfortable because I used it for the first time last year, and I mean it was great. It was great having that. That was a game changer for sure.
Yeah.
So
That's one of those things like we've talked about before as far as gear goes, staying warm, keeping warm gear is going to last. That's one of those things that, for me anyways, I carry that around because it just helps my be a little more comfortable and a little bit more enjoyable time while I'm out hunting. So
yep.
that's one of those things that's, like I said, I'll think twice about leaving it at the truck or not.
Yeah. It's definitely a game changer. You definitely opened my eyes up to that. And I really enjoy having it. I mean, just what I used it last year. Matter of fact, I was kind of kicking myself in the butt because when I was turkey hunting this year, I forgot all about this. But when I was turkey hunting once this year, I was trying to find nice place to sit down. And I'm like, oh man, I wish I had my heater suiter with me. I don't know if that's what it's called, a heater. That's what I'm calling it, is a heater seater. I think that's what it's called though, heater seater or something like that.
And I call it a butt pad.
A butt pad, yeah. So we all have our own names for it, but essentially it just helps you whenever you're sitting down scouting or something. It definitely helps you, because that's what I was going to say is we did it this last year or whenever I got mine, and or maybe I did already say it. I can't remember, but anyway, yeah, we were out there for a while though. Like, I mean, I remember I was like, oh man, because we were like a couple hours we were glassing or whatever, and I was like, I was fine and content. The hardest thing with doing that though is whenever you're not really seeing anything and you're like, maybe we could go walk around and run into something. It's so hard to be that patient to just sit there for 2 or 3 hours. So hard to be patient, but getting back on track with like first time hunter though is yeah, Joe pretty much nailed it on the head. Like, first aid kit, your pack, maybe medium to large size, but you don't want something too huge if it's just a day pack, especially. First aid kit, emergency blanket, knife, pair of binoculars. Am I missing anything, Joe? Water,
yeah. Rope, and then
rope.
One thing too, I guess in October you're kind of flirting with the how much flies are going to be out or whatnot, and so but like game bags, just to help keep your meat clean.
Game bags, maybe. I don't do this enough. Well, I don't bow hunt, but speaking of flies, it made me think though maybe some bug spray too, just in case, just to throw in one of your pockets on your bag.
Well, one of the things too, so you're a first time hunter, you're trying to go out, have a good time. You want to feel safe, you don't want to worry about stuff, but like, you carry that bear spray, that's going to help you. When we talk about having an enjoyable time, that's going to help you feel a little bit safer. And, like, not that it's going to stop a bear, but it can deter it, that whole peace of mind, that's going to help you have a better hunt too, having that peace of mind.
Yeah. Actually, that's a good point. I'm surprised I'm not the one that said bear spray since I carry it.
But I don't worry about it because I do the old Davy Crockett trick. He grin a bear. So if I have a bear coming up, I just.
Is that how he did it?
Yeah.
That's funny. Well, so my perspective on the bear spray is especially just for black bear, like I've never really been messed with or anything, but any of that, like my thought is, or the reason I like that is because you could be, speaking of that, have you watched Tiger King?
Yeah.
So what's his name? Joe
Exotic.
Joe Exotic. Yeah, you could be Joe Exotic with a pistol on your hip and trying to, if you did happen to run into that, try to shoot the bear or whatever. And for me though, the reason that I like the bear spray as a first defense, because I have my rifle right there, but for the first defense is just because I don't want the mess on my hand. I don't want the fishing game to be coming at, I'd rather tell them, hey, I had to spray a bear than, hey, I shot a bear.
Right.
That's really most of it. And it is a security thing too. I mean, a little bit, I feel a little better that, if something does try to mess with me, that I'm good. or, hopefully I'm good. Like, I can protect myself. I don't really worry about me that much, but the other reason that I carry it is just because I have my son with me and he's slow and clumsy. So, um, I just I'm like, well, some bear or something might see him and kind of lick their chops a little bit and be like, oh, that looks like an easy target. And so that's kind of, I mean, we're talking like a 0.1% chance of this stuff ever happening, but I'm like, I'd rather be a little prepared than unprepared. So that's why I kind of carry the bear spray.
No, I mean, that's totally legit, like that's good reason to, I just don't, cause I don't know. Like I said, I'll grin them down. But I think it's one of those things. I haven't ran into that many bears, and like you said, you had the rifle, but I don't know. I hope I never have an incident, but hopefully I'm with you and you can spray them.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of funny though, because during our elk hunt, I had it on my pack belt the whole time or whatever. But this turkey season, I grabbed that and I was like, Carter, throw that in the back of my bag. I'm tired of carrying it on my. So it was kind of pointless to have it, but it was. I don't know. I was like, I don't feel like carrying that around, and it's orange too. So that's the other thing too, is it was orange, and I'm like, those turkey are gonna spot me from a mile away if I have this orange bottle sticking out from my side. So I was like, throw that in the back of the pack, and so all those precautions, and then I just kind of throw it in the back of the pack. So if something was to happen, it'd probably happen so fast I couldn't get to it in time. But I don't know, just kind of funny.
Yeah. But so first time hunter.
Yeah. So we keep going off on tangents, but yeah, first time hunter though, that is something though that like to help maybe make you feel more secure out there, especially hopefully you're not hunting by yourself. I mean, hopefully you have a mentor of some sort. Joe.
I think along that line too is making sure that someone knows where you're at.
Yeah.
Maybe they haven't been out there with you, but you have a map, or you gave them a pin from your phone, dropped a pin off your phone to them. So that way, you can be like, hey, I want to be in this area. So that way that someone has somewhat of an idea where you're going to be.
Exactly.
You're going with someone back home knows roughly where you're going to be.
Yeah, that's a really good idea. I need to probably do that sometime. Yeah. Well, I mean, my wife knows where I'm at, but I don't. I was you just had me thinking like maybe I should have her download Onyx and then send her.
Before Onyx, what I'd do is how do I do it? I'd go on Google Earth, or I think just from my phone, I just drop a pin where I was at, send location. And it was just, a basic like map. It wasn't like detailed, but it had the GPS coordinates and stuff of where base camp was.
Right. Well, my area though, you can't really do that because we don't have service. I mean,
I think, yeah. The other thing you can do too is just take a screenshot of where like base camp is, and then send it in a text as a picture. That way, like it's not going to be pull up on a GPS coordinates, but there's at least a location.
Get a rough idea anyway. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. Yeah, that's kind of a first time hunter. It's kind of a lot of information to unpack, but I mean, most of everything that we said though, it's on your back. And, I mean, besides that, if you were, if you were legitimately doing it by yourself and like you just had this deep passion to try out hunting by yourself, like the other thing is drive up to where you're going and just go a couple miles away from where your pickup is, have something like, I mean, 1 year before I bought Onyx, I used Map My Run one time. It didn't have any. It didn't have any details or anything. It was just like a gray map, but the GPS part of it still worked, right? So I didn't have service to show the map itself, but the GPS worked, and so I just tracked my hike, and I used that. I actually used that to get back to the truck one time, and that was before I got Onyx. So for a first time hunter, like anything, I mean, Onyx, you can pretty much use it for free. The only thing is the layers. So you don't get all the layers like where the private property is and blah, blah, blah. But you could still download the app and use the GPS part. You can download the map of where you're at. There's a lot of stuff you still can do for the free version. So if you're a new hunter, just download that. And like I said, every time you leave your truck, just kind of like start, track your hike. And, it's an easier way to get back to your truck and stuff like that. And just leave like a couple miles away from your truck every time.
One of the things that I was doing before, like I got a GPS and before Onyx and stuff. I even still do it to this day. As a practice, I kind of do for myself. But some of you probably watched Old Yeller, but it's an old movie, so I don't know. I believe it was Old Yeller that he sends out one of the little boys. They go out for like leaving home base or whatever it was, and they told him to keep there's a tall dead tree, and to keep that tall dead tree on like his right shoulder. So like make sure like that tree he could always see that tree, and that tree was always connected to his shoulder. So he just did a circle around the area.
Yeah.
And so I don't exactly, I keep my shoulder to a certain area, but I just look for landmarks and all, like always, like, okay, the ravines are coming in this way and they're running east and west. And, like I know, if I head up this ravine here, there's a road up top. I know if I head down this way that there's going to be a road down there.
Looks like we're having some more technical difficulties, guys. Hopefully we can. You there?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay.
That was weird. Can you hear me?
Yep, I got you.
Okay, it like kicked me completely out.
Really?
And then brought me all the way back in. Like it went back to my email and then brought me right back in.
Huh. The struggles here at the Struggling Hunters podcast. We tend to have technical difficulties, hunting difficulties. We're just some struggling fools. But I think the technical difficulties will get fixed here pretty soon, hopefully anyway. So
yeah.
So we'll
but anyways, like I said, when I'm out there in the woods, I just try to make sure I'm looking for indications on where stuff is, so that way if I'm coming back out of someplace, I got references to watch as I come back.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I said, that's even with Onyx and stuff nowadays. That's just so that way hopefully I don't get myself turned around.
Yeah. So for me, I feel like I rely on Onyx so much now. Like I feel like I forgot those senses a little bit, I threw those senses out the window. Now it's just looking at my phone. Okay, where was I? Where do I need to go?
But I will say though, like coming out in the night, it's nice to have Onyx. Like you said, you drop a pin where your truck is or where your trailhead is or wherever you leave from. And then sometimes at night it gets to where you get kind of, at least for me, sometimes I've gotten into some scrub oak and I can't really see what's going on around me.
Get a little disoriented.
Yeah. It does happen every once in a while coming out at night. So it's nice to have Onyx to be able to see where where I'm trying to get back to.
That's the hardest thing about back in the day whenever I didn't have Onyx and I had to pay more attention to that is you'd be like, all right, this is what it looks like or whatever. Then you get to hike it. Then you come back and you go, this doesn't look familiar to me at all because you're looking at it from a different angle,
Yeah.
So that's something that a guy has to kind of learn over time too, is how to mark stuff and kind of know what it looks like going back the other way too.
Right. Exactly. So talking about being at marking base camp and sending people where base camp is and where we were kind of talking about it earlier, but just growing up, seems like I've always had a base camp to go back to. Like it was always, well, base camp has been my home. I've gone back to my home to hunt out of my house, which is kind of nice. The only downside is that you're getting up at probably 2, 3 in the morning to get to wherever you're wanting to hunt.
Yep.
But yeah, so I mean, I didn't really start even in Idaho. I always had a base camp back at it, like a home, like a structure, a house or something, a cabin. There was I don't remember ever camping out at, growing up. But if I go back even further to when I was a kid hunting with my dad, we would go hunting up on Mount Charleston. I think.
Is that in Nevada?
Yeah, that's in Nevada.
Gotcha.
And he had an old 77 Chevy Custom Deluxe, 2-wheel drive, but I called it the hunting truck. But I was like, man, that truck can go anywhere a 4-wheel drive truck can go.
Yeah.
We had a camper on the back of it. It had a cooking stove, a fridge, a table that went down to a bed, and we hunted. We'd go up and hunt out of that. We used that. That was used as a base camp. Hunted out of that in Nevada, and then up in Utah, in Boulder, Utah, we'd hunted out of that once or twice. So as a kid, I had a base camp as a camper, but then as I got older, we moved to Idaho. Base camp was always home, and we'd get up at 3, 2, 3, 4 in the morning, to leave to go hunting.
Yeah, I did a lot the same. Only a handful of times did I ever really go out to quote unquote hunting camp. But most time I would leave from my house early in the morning and go hunting that way. And leading into that, so Colorado and Utah, is kind of where the whole making a base camp out in the woods is where it kind of started for me. Doing that more often than not, than leaving from my house. And some of that is like where we were from, we didn't have to drive all that. I mean, it was 20, 30 minutes for the most part to where we could quote unquote start hunting. And for me, it took a little out here in Grand Junction. I have to drive, like 2 hours before I start where I've been hunting the last few years. It's like 2 or 3 hour drive. Well, 2-hour drive, I should say, before I can start hunting. So it makes more sense to have a base camp. But with that said, Joe and I both over the years, we've gotten a lot of equipment and stuff, to make those kind of camp trips or hunting trips nicer or better. We've gotten camping equipment and stuff like that over the years to make it better. There's the backcountry hunts, and the backcountry hunts is kind of like a whole new level of gear to do backcountry hunts. And I mean, you could do, I'm sure there's some things you could probably go cheap on or whatnot, but like most of me and Joe's gear, I know is way too heavy to carry on our backs.
Right.
And so, it's just, it's something that we want to get to eventually, but as of right now, it's kind of, it's a little more difficult. It's easier said than done, I guess.
No, right. Yeah. Like, I've been, and it's kind of interesting. I feel that like my hunting experiences and goals of hunting have kind of changed over the years, just simply because of what's out there, I guess, in social media or what's being put out there. What's kind of inspired me um and what, like, growing up, like we said, like base camp, you always went back to base camp of some type, whether it was a tent. Like I said, we had a camper in the back of the truck, back to home. And then, as years gone on, YouTube's come up, and people posting what type of hunts that they do. And as I've gotten into trying to learn how to become a better hunter, and I turned to the school of YouTube.
Yeah, YTU is what I call it. YouTube University.
Yeah. And people putting stuff up on there and showing what they're doing, and I started watching, the born and raised guys, born and raised outdoors. There's Hush and Brian Call, the gritty guy. But they started doing these backpack hunts, and they're taking everything they can fit in their backpack. They're going out for, I think, 4 days at a time, 5 days at a time. I over the years, I've been trying to get my gear set up to where base camp, I go back to a base camp every day, and it's somewhat comfortable. If not, I don't have an RV or anything, but like my little tent, I got a heater for it. I got a sleeping pad. I got warm blankets, and I got a little tent. They're not, it's not a big tent, but it's not a small tent, but big enough to make things somewhat comfortable. Got a little camp chair to sit around the fire.
Yep.
But trying to build that gear up, like you getting that Kodiak tent, and start watching these guys, and like, man, that'd be kind of fun to get out there away from everybody, where the deer maybe are a little bit more natural. I mean, they're still or elk even, like they're still going to be senses are still going to be heightened, but just I think it'll be fun. Go ahead.
Yeah, they're not going to be as pressured, and they won't be as pressured out there. They won't be. You freezing again? Well, I'll keep talking until Joe can get back on. But yeah, the elk and deer won't be as pressured out there in the backcountry hunts. And I think me and Joe, we both kind of align with this. Is we want to do some more of those backcountry hunts and get back in there. I kind of kept going for a minute, so till you got back online. I was talking about our backcountry, like just us wanting to do a backcountry hunt and stuff, but now it's kind of transitioned to where we have to get our gear set up for that kind of stuff, and it's going to take a little bit of time to get the right kind of gear to be able to pack out, and do a week-long backcountry hunt.
Yeah, no, for sure. That
looks like we're having a little bit of technical difficulties again. We'll get her figured out here in a second. I can't hear you though.
Okay.
Okay, now I can. Yep.
What I was saying was that it's like you start seeing what someone else is doing, and it's like, oh, that'll be way fun to do that, but you're still trying to get yourself set up to what you're doing before. So you gotta. I kind of got to slow myself down and I want to be proficient. So it's like I got to get myself proficient at what I'm doing now before I really move on to something else. Otherwise I'm not getting good at what I'm doing. I'm just always, behind the ball instead of getting ahead of it, because I'm always switching and not really being successful where I was at.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And on the financial side of it, I was just kind of running it through my brain. I mean, honestly, like if you were to just get this stuff to just be able to camp out in the backcountry at night, I mean, you're talking probably $2,000, after your pack frame, your pack, whatever. I mean, that's anywhere between $400 to $600.
Right.
Your tent is probably $300 to $400 or $500. Your backpack's probably $300. If you have a sleeping pad, that's probably $100. I mean, it racks up to like $2,000 pretty dang fast. So,
Right. Well, then you're trying to keep everything lightweight, so you're paying more for that. Like,
that's the trick. Yeah, you're
but
you're paying the money to have the lighter stuff, because there's some stuff that I have right now. I mean, I have a sleeping bag that weighs nothing, but I would freeze to death in the middle of summer in that thing. So, I mean, so yeah, you want to bring something light, but also will keep you warm at night. So, and then a small tent, and yeah, but all that stuff takes time, takes money. It takes time to get to that point. And so, I mean, I would rather go do a backcountry hunt a little over prepared than under prepared, especially a backcountry where there is no, for us, like the way we have our base camp, and yeah, we might be, 10, 15 miles away from our camp, in the middle of the day, or when we go out hunting, and we start out, we drive to wherever we're going, and then we go hike another 4 or 5 miles or whatever it is. But for the most part, like we always make it back. We always figure out a way back. I mean, really, for me and you, because we've been doing it for so long, the only way that I can imagine, and you never say never, but we'd get stuck out there is really if just something happened. We twisted an ankle so dang bad that we literally could not walk forward or move on. So
yeah,
for the most part, we always make it back to base camp and stuff. But in the backcountry, though, I mean, you want to be prepared. Something that you said earlier about carrying your food for 48 hours. I probably need to get better about that. Like, I carry a couple extra, but I probably couldn't survive in 48 hours, because I'm like, I try not to carry that much food to keep it lighter. And I probably need to carry a little bit more.
But it's not necessarily so. With that, I try. Not that I'm carrying like a ton of extra food. It's more I'm carrying food that I know is going to have enough calories, enough protein, enough sugars that's going to get me through 48 hours. I'm not going to be stuffing myself. I just know that it's something I can survive on.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. You're not having cheeseburgers and French fries in your pack.
Right.
It was scary out there, man.
Yeah. Pulling out a cheese pizza out of the backpack.
Yeah. I thought I was going to starve to death.
Right. Pull out your can of pop.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
It was drops.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I guess you're definitely not overly full whenever the Cliff bars and granola bars, or what else did you say that you take?
I think there's better stuff out there now, but it was like those 4-hour energy shots.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I think there's better stuff out there now that's more healthy for you.
Yeah.
But at the time, like, that's kind of what I was carrying, just because it was light, but it delivered enough stuff to kind of keep yourself energized.
One thing that I need to do is I need to, at least, even if I don't use it, I need to get one of those filtration water bottles.
Yeah. Beyond that.
Yeah. For me, I just grab. So I have my reasoning, and I thought about what you said last year, because when we were talking about it last year, so I don't carry a bladder. I kind of have two reasons for it. First one is it seems like when we're in the colder months, my hose freezes. But I was telling you about that, and you're like, well, just blow the water back into your bag and should take care of that. I'm like, oh wow, light bulb goes off, you know. Um,
Yeah.
so that's kind of settled. But another thing though is whenever I have bladders, I can kind of hear the water move. So whenever I'm walking, I can kind of hear it, you know, blah, 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 blah. And
Right.
so um, so I kind of don't like bladders for those two reasons when I'm hunting. Any other time I like bladders, like if I'm mountain biking or whatever, I prefer bladders over anything else. But only hunting, I don't really like bladders for that reason. So I carry water bottles. The one nice thing about the water bottles is I go out in the morning whenever my legs are fresh. You know, I drink a lot of water when I'm hunting or when I'm not hunting. I drink quite a bit of water actually, and so you know, I'll throw like 6, 7, 8 bottles in there, whatever it is. But throughout the day, as I'm drinking those waters, my pack lightens up, and especially like toward the later in the day, you can really feel that 16 ounces coming out of your back, going off of your back. Anyways, I feel like I can. You know, like by the end of the day, I'm like the smallest amount of weight. You're like, oh yeah, it feels way better. So I kind of like to bring water bottles for those reasons. No, I mean, and that's not for everybody. That's just me, my own personal preference.
Right.
So, do you have a bladder, don't you?
Not my bag now. No, I got a Badlands backpack, and
Which I love.
but I have to have a special bladder bag for that, and I just haven't purchased it yet. I just found for me, it's so the one nice thing too about the bladder is you don't have to take your pack off to get to the water. But
Touche.
with my backpack, I can open up kind of the back side of it to get on where it makes contact with your back, and I just set. I've gotten into the habit of taking one Greek Gatorade bottle, and then I'll have I think I carry like five or six bottles of water, but I have two on either side of my Gatorade bottle in my backpack. So I just I pop it off and have that. And I have a couple other ones in my pack, but right now I just carry water bottles.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I know I seem to kind of after you said that about keeping it from freezing, it kind of like light bulb went off, and I was like, well, maybe I'll try a bladder again in the future, but I don't know. It's kind of tough. I just remember the last time that I even had a bladder in my pack, because I used to have the pack that I use, which is nothing fancy. I mean, I'm hoping to get a fancy one of these years, but I used to have a bladder in it. It came with it and everything, but I took it out because I just didn't really like it whenever I was hunting. So,
but the other thing for me is I like the backpacks with pockets. Like I love pockets. Like for me, it's like more pockets the better.
Yeah.
But so if I put a bladder in my backpack, I lose a pocket. So.
Oh, that's funny. So
like for me, it's kind of like I'm okay without having a bladder, so that way I have an extra pocket to put my gear in.
That's funny that you say that because I'm kind of different. I'm different. I'd probably be good with like about 4 pockets on a bag. If I had
I love pockets. Like like I can just stash different things in it, and I don't know. It's one of those things that.
I do understand what you're saying on one level though, because I have this little day pack. It's a small little pack that I've been kind of actually using for the turkey hunt this year. I kind of bought it for Carter, but I've been using it a lot for the turkey hunts. But it has a ton of pockets in it, and here's the thing that I do think that attracts me to a lot of pockets. The one and only thing is whenever there's a ton of pockets, you kind of feel like you get your money's worth a little bit more.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
If I paid like $500 for a pack that only had like 4 pockets, I'd probably feel a little ripped off. You know what I mean? Yeah. but I am kind of a minimalist at the same time, and I'd rather have, I'd have my first aid kit on one side, um, my knives and stuff like that on another side, my uh, ropes. I'd have it all spaced out, but I'd like know where everything is. And like I said, 4 pockets, I'd probably be happy with if it was a good pack.
Right.
So
Yeah. No, I like, it's one of those things. Like, I feel like I got to have pockets. Like, that's the first thing I look at. Like, I'll look at a bag and like, how many pockets are on it? And if it's only like, like the main bag and like one zipper, I'm like, nope,
it's just
I'm done.
it's not
Next
your
one.
style. That's funny. Hey man, we all like what we like, right? Like that's just what it
Right.
comes down to.
Right.
That's where I'm at with it. I mean, I don't know. I just kind of, like I said, I'm kind of a minimalist because the biggest thing is you have a ton of pockets, at least for me. And I try to stuff I feel like I have to stuff every pocket with something, right? And then whenever you go to look for it, you're like, where is it? I know it's in one of these pockets. Then I'm searching everywhere. But the nice thing is, though, is if everything has its own pocket, because you know how many times, like for me, I even have a few pockets on this bag that I have, but even for me, like if I stuff everything in one pocket, the one thing that I'm looking for falls down to the bottom, and I'm, rustling around and can't find it, but if I had more pockets, then it would have its own spot. But so I don't know. I guess it's a give and take. I guess I don't really care that much. The more I'm talking about this, I'm talking myself out of being a minimalist on pockets and being like, no, I want more pockets. So maybe I should just stop talking because I made a stand and then I'm talking my way out of it.
uh,
But yeah, so I don't know. I think what we were trying to say though in the through all this though is that Joe and I both definitely want to do some backcountry hunts and stuff like that, but it's just going to take time and hopefully we get there sooner than later, but it's just going to take a little time to get there and hopefully we can share that experience and kind of let everybody know about our struggles with even that, our struggles and our successes with that. Um, if we do it organically, because that is one thing, and not throwing shade or anything, but just organically, basically meaning that me and Joe figuring out how to pay for the stuff ourselves. If we do it organically, it's going to take a lot of time, but maybe we get lucky and get a few sponsors or something and help us out there down the road. But
right. Yeah. I think, like I said, it's one of those hunts that I think it'll be fun to do. Like it's twofold though. Like doing that type of hunt, you got to be in shape and you got to know what you're doing as far as packing and stuff. So
mm,
that's
that's probably the biggest one.
yeah,
And through this quarantine stuff, even though it hasn't affected me, everything closing down, like the gym and everything. I mean, yeah, I've been pretty much kicked back, like doing a little bit of exercise here and there, but I have not exercised very much at all. But with that said, though, I have been like, I'm like, okay, I don't know. Like our gym is open, but they have all the dumb rules to it, and like you gotta. I for one, their operating times don't align with my work schedule at all. Maybe in the afternoon, but that's when everybody else wants to get in there anyway. Um, so I don't know when I'm gonna get back to the gym is pretty much what I'm trying to say here. And with that said, I've been thinking about it, and I'm like, all right, I got to get off my butt and really start putting in the work and getting in shape for hunting season, and so we can really hit it hard out there and you know hopefully not tucker out at all. Which I don't think we will, but I don't know, that's going to be something that I start kicking up here pretty soon. um I hate saying like, oh, I'm gonna like, I don't want to say that I'm gonna like share all my results and talk about it every podcast. I mean, I might not or whatever, but I feel like whenever I do that, I almost set myself up for failure because it's hard to stay consistent whenever you have to be. You know, when I have to be, all I can think about is how I want to cheat myself. But if it's the weirdest reverse psychology thing that I do to myself. So yeah, so I don't know, but it's definitely something with this COVID-19 stuff and the gyms being the way they are. I definitely want to just I'm gonna start just kind of running around the neighborhood and getting some exercise that way and try to get in better shape and get ready for hunting season for sure. So
Yeah. So what time? I think we're maybe getting a little long. We need to.
yeah, let's go ahead and wrap her up. One thing before we wrap it up, Joe, is these podcasts, me and Joe are doing them. So we work all day long, and then we get home, we do the family stuff, we eat dinner, blah blah blah, and then at the very end of the night, we get together and try to muster up enough energy to do these podcasts. So by the end of them, I think me and Joe's eyes both are kind of get pretty droopy by the end of the podcast. So with that said, guys, it'd be pretty nice to show us some support. Like and subscribe to us, especially if you've in this podcast, especially because we've been all over the place. So if you've listened to us this long, we really appreciate it. And with that said, show some love, kind of interact with the podcast, whether you're listening to it on Apple Podcast or Spotify, or if you happen to be listening to it or watching it rather on YouTube, figure out a way to show us some love, leaving a comment or giving us a like. With that said, that's my spiel for tonight. Joe, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for sticking out, watching this far. We enjoy talking about hunting experiences and what we have plans coming up. But yeah, like Eric said, like, comment, share. I think it'd be fun to get some comments. So drop us a line and ask us a couple questions. We'd love to get back to you on them. But until next episode, keep plugging away.
For sure, guys. Thanks for listening to the Struggling Hunters. We'll talk to you later.
See ya.